All of a sudden, the government shut down because they got no geeters. But these fucking states got so much geeters and taxes. I think California is broke, but at least they're generating. Let's look up the fucking numbers, people. What's Denver generating? What's Denver? Did you see that 60-minute show?
Well, what they're saying is that it literally is going to turn the economy around.
This is it.
Completely. Clink, 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 clink. And these dummies, by the way, who are the same dummies who are anti-drugs, it's almost like secretly they want drugs to be legal, and the only way they can go about it is to have the government completely collapse so that they can't regulate them anymore, and then the drugs will take over, and the drugs will let them understand how they've fucked up the entire country with their cunty egos.
Yeah.
And then they can apologize. But it's almost like the only thing that can save them at this point is pot. Out of all the ones that are dangerous, out of all the ones that you want an instant change in the economy, of course it's not going to be under corporate control. You got to realize that. You ready for that? Because it's going to be under control by anybody who wants to grow pot. That's the problem. If you make it legal, how legal is it going to be? Is it going to be legal to grow like a tomato? Like I have tomatoes in my yard. Is it going to be okay if I grow pot in my yard? Because if that's the case, it's pretty easy to do, man. Good luck. We're off to the races. The whole economy is going to change.
Wasn't there a time when weed was totally legal?
Totally
anyway?
legal.
And no one even thought about
Before the 1930s.
it. It wasn't even a thing. Like it was just something else you smoked.
It was so common and so normal and so used as a textile and a commodity. Like, it was so important to the making of clothes and for all sorts of different things that they had before they came out with the decorticator. When they came out with the decorticator, it led them to be able to process this shit really fucking easy. And all the difficulty that they had with processing in the past was gone. One machine completely figured out how to take this hemp and instantly turn it into what you could use for paper, building materials. Henry Ford made his first fucking car. He had the fenders made out of hemp. It's an amazing plant. Like, it's one of the most durable fucking plants that's ever existed, and it's lightweight. It's really weird. It's not like any other plant. So the idea of making that illegal was so ridiculous that they had to make the name marijuana. What they did was Harry Anslinger and William Randolph Hearst, and Hearst controlled all these newspapers, but he also controlled all this paper. He controlled all these, like, he had forests, and these forests would chop down this wood and use it to make paper. He was going to have to convert all that to hemp. Like, Popular Science was saying hemp, the new billion-dollar crop. Like, they got it in because of the applications for, like, clothing and nylon and fuel. That's how they got it in. They got it in as a commodity. They essentially banned an incredible natural commodity, one of the greatest ones ever, so that they could have nylon for, like, ropes and shit like that, so that Hearst didn't have to transfer his mills over to hemp paper. Like, there's a bunch of weird economic reasons. It just stuck so good. In the 1930s, it's still stuck.
Yeah.
Like, we're running around with the fucking internet with cold syrup and alcohol and fucking antidepressants and everything else. And to this day, one of the best plants that's ever existed on this planet for people is illegal. Illegal. I mean, you don't need any more proof than that we're fucking retarded. Like, you want to talk about a backwards ass civilization. They've got the best plant ever illegal. Then nothing else can fuck with it. There's nothing else you can eat, make houses with, make clothes with, and that motherfucker's illegal.
It's going to be interesting seeing that population growth for the places that are legal now, and seeing if there's a growth in, like, music and arts, like if it's becomes like Portland becomes the new Seattle in, like, just 2 years, or like
it's illegal in Portland.
It is illegal.
Yeah, it's illegal in Portland.
Weed
Portland didn't
stores
pass.
or
no. Well, you can have medical. They didn't make it legal statewide. They only made it legal statewide. First was Colorado. Second was shortly after was Washington State. And those are the only two right now that it's actually legal in the state. But we knew that Denver had passed a city law way back in the day where they said weed was legal. They said they were not going to arrest you, don't smoke it in public. The cops, like, they openly stated they weren't going to do this. We used to talk about that on stage back when we were doing the Comedy Works in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it's very strange. It's a really strange phenomenon. I think and if you look at it not just from the economic perspective of why people economically might want to ban it, but also from the consciousness level, because of the state that induces is one of deep introspection. And if you consider capitalism and the effects of it, like what you just said, and you really explore, like, shit, do I want to subscribe to the system that has actually thrown people in jail for growing a thing that used to be like one of the number one substances used? That's the kind of thoughts that come to your mind when you're high, along with a lot of other stuff like, man, I think I'm a fucking asshole. Did I really just say that to whoever I said that to? Like, I think I'm a fucking asshole. And the more you start like thinking about stuff like that, that produces the paranoid trip everyone's so afraid of. But if you take that deeper, then what you realize is happening is the plant is healing your consciousness, and it's identifying aspects of yourself that need to be worked on. That's what the effect is. And also, if you get super stoned and just get into a messy room, you'll start organizing the fucking room generally. You'll start cleaning and scrubbing because you're externalizing what it's doing to you on the inside, which is organizing all these disparate aspects of your personality and forcing you to at least acknowledge it, if not work on it. And does that kind of balancing agent work with a society based on denial and a society based on ignoring the fact that the whole thing functions by evaporating human beings and stealing their land? Do you really want a drug that produces that level of understanding in the bloodstream of the population?
Well, you do. Just you don't if you're the one at the helm of the fucking meat machine. If you're the one who's pushing the blades across the land and slashing everything in front of it, then you don't. But if you're everybody else, of course you do. Of course you do.
Right.
We're all better off high.
It's never.
Yeah.